So we're going live here. All right. Cool. Did everybody get enough food? There's plenty of food if you guys want more. Please feel free to help yourselves. All right. Now, cool. So before we get started, I wanna play this video because I think that it gives a really um, good idea of how we want to structure and why we want to structure our life groups the way we're going to be structuring them. So here it is. Awesome. So did that look a little bit different than we've normally been doing the life groups and things like that? One of the things that this pandemic has definitely done for us is made us realize that life groups is going to be the best way for discipleship and for people to grow spiritually in this time. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with this very first blank here. Alrighty. So the philosophy of life groups. So life groups are biblical. Listen to what it says in Matthew. It says, "All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the Spirit of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age." So, in order for us to carry out this mandate, we need a plan. Okay, so Jesus modeled discipleship for us by gathering a dozen men around him and teaching them in the context of their everyday life. And the early church expanded on this method. So it said, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe, and many wonders and miraculous signs were done by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. Selling their possessions and goods, they gave to anyone as he had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. So the model that we're shown here in this passage of scripture is the oikos connection. So if so you're on we're on page 2B. Alrighty. So the life group and the oikos connection. Oikos is a Greek word that is translated house or household. This is the basic building block of society. Acts 16:31 says, believe in the Lord Jesus and you will be saved, and you and your household. This can be described as our personal community, those people with whom we spend significant time. It's through these relationships that the gospel most frequently spreads. Most people come to Christ with the aid of a family member or a friend. And the free market life group system is the perfect environment for unbelievers within one's oikos that can be drawn through various interests. See, the beauty of how we do life groups is that we let you guys choose what you want to go through. A lot of times when there's like this curriculum provided, it's really easy just to kind of like go through this stuff, and sometimes people aren't really excited to go through that. Sometimes, for the most part, what we want to do is we want to try to bring unchurched people into the group, and so a lot of times the really deep theological studies are sometimes really, really, really overwhelming for people. They're a little bit intimidating, and so what we do with the free market system is you guys get to pick what you want to do. If you guys want to have a gun enthusiast life group, you can do that, as long as you're being safe with it and you're not, doing anything crazy, robbing banks or anything like that. But the life group is the perfect place for believers to grow. Okay, that blank is on C is for believers to grow. So the life group enables believers to develop community and foster friendships. It allows believers to discover and use their spiritual gifts. And since spiritual growth is often measured by our ability to serve others, the life group is the perfect place for one to bear one's burdens through service. Guys, this is the most important part, I think, of the life group is that community, is that getting together and helping develop each other and helping people step into the giftedness that God has given them. That is our mandate and commandment that God has given us. Jesus said for us to go and make disciples and teach them to obey. And so that's our job. And the best way to do that is through relational ministry. And so that's why it's really, really important for the life groups to be a forefront of our thoughts, okay? Now, the three pillars that form the foundation for life groups. Number one is relationships, okay? So make it a priority to spend quality time with the people that come to your group. Encourage others to develop relationships as well, and you must model this in order to be a leader. So we encourage gatherings in addition to weekly meetings that are just for recreation. So that means that, like, if you guys are getting together, just hang out. Do something, go to a park, get your group together, go to a park and hang out and just build those relationships. It can't always be about business. And when people show up and they're like, man, this guy's really just business oriented, doesn't really care about me, then people tend to not stay at that group. So we encourage you guys to do an additional meeting, just something that you guys just hang out and just really just do that life together, that life connection. And so the life group leader is a facilitator. Let's see here. So he's a facilitator. Regardless of the purpose of your group, you must learn to facilitate by encouraging others to grow in their gifts. Good leaders don't have all the gifts and talents. They just need to know who has them. Alrighty. And that's really important that we do that we encourage other people to grow into their gifts, to encourage them to step into maybe a leadership role. I think that there's a lot of people in our groups right now that have the potential to be leading their own groups. And so one of the things that we really, really want to focus on is, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but it's multiplication. Okay, that is right now, as we're rolling these things out, that's going to be the basis of how we are working with these groups and moving forward with them. Is and we'll get into that in just a little bit, but learn to be a servant. People are drawn to people that serve and love them. Learn to be a coach. A coach knows how to bring out the best in every player on the team. And here's some things that will help you with that is develop and maintain your relationship with God so that you have something to give. Rely on the Holy Spirit to help you. Grow in faith and pray positive things over the people that come to your group meetings. And keep in regular telephone contact with the members of your connection group. Maintaining communication with your life group or coach and or pastor, and we'll talk a little bit more about the life group coach in just a little bit. But let us know how things are going. And not just the weird bad stuff, let's be honest, we've all had a group of people that, there's someone in there that just, they drive you insane, but we're here for them. We're here for the people that come to our group. We're here to help them feel safe and to feel like they are a part of something. And so, if you're having an issue with somebody, let me or the life group coach know so that we can address it and kind of get things rolling back on track and get you guys moving forward. Okay, and we really want to hear about the good stuff. A lot of us, one of the things that we're going to be really pushing is that each life group actually does something, outside of the group. So we want to make sure that we have just that kind of outward focus, where we're going into our communities, we're impacting them, and we're not just, meeting at somebody's house and it's the same people and it never grows and nobody ever, changes or their spiritual depth just plateaus or just stops and comes down. We don't ever want that. Okay. And we want to know all the good stuff that's happening. It's really encouraging for all of us to know exactly what's going on and for us to be able to share with the church. It really is important that we're sharing our love and our groups with the church, and so that they know why it's important to be a part of the group. Okay. Here we go. We're going to get into the stages of life of the life group. Okay. The first one being the honeymoon stage. That's your first blank on number 7 on page 3. It's the honeymoon stage. And so everybody knows what the honeymoon stage is. That's when everybody is doing great. You get together and everybody is loving each other and it's just going really, really good. So, it's going to be during this time, that people are going to see and kind of decide whether they're going to stay in the group or not. The second stage is the conflict stage, and that's going to be where you're norming. So a lot of people, they take this conflict stage and they see it as a really negative thing, and here's the thing is that in order for all of us to grow, there has to be growing pains, there has to be conflict, there has to be something that needs to be resolved in order for us to grow as people, both spiritually and just in general. And so we've got to come face to face with the ideas, the practices, and even people that disagree with what we believe to be true or important before we can assimilate new ideas and grow. Be alert to people who do not handle conflict correctly. During this stage, questions are going to be asked. Do I even like this leader or these people? Is it worthwhile for me to come to this group? The life group member decides at this stage to invest in relationships or quit the group. Okay. The next stage is community, and this is where it's the conforming stage, and this is going to be where people have generally accepted each other and are willing to begin to work with each other towards the common goal. Okay. And then we've got ministry and outreach, and that's going to be the performing part, and that's going to be the part that we're going to really be pushing, because like we said, we don't want a bunch of groups that just meet and they don't necessarily like reach out to people or go into the community, and it's we don't want to be inward focused, we want to be outward focused. And that's the whole reason why this church exists, is so that we can go into our communities, we can get our people together, and we can encourage them, we can do life together, and we can help them know who Jesus is through the relationships that we have and that we nurture and that we encourage. Okay, so let's see here. And then this is the one, the stage you don't have to be afraid of is multiplication. Okay, now what the multiplication stage is going to look like, as you add new members, it's going to become clear that you've got to multiply in order to continue, in order to sustain the benefits of the connection group dynamics. Let's see here. I really, really, really love this verse. It says, "Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved." And guys, that's the whole reason we're here. Like I said earlier, our mission as a church is not to get the already churched people, but it's to get unchurched people to know who Jesus is and to disciple them and to teach them how to have a better relationship with him. And so our groups, they need to be about that. They need to be about expanding and multiplying and providing more opportunities for people to come in. Relationships are the key to success. Relationships are the key to the success and growth of your group. You must recruit through friendships, personal contacts at church, coworkers, and the life group launch Sunday. Okay. The discipleship is going to be the second thing that we focus on with life groups. So discipleship is teaching and training another person to become a committed follower of Christ. Okay. Now listen to what this says. It says discipleship is teaching and training another person to become a committed follower of Christ. I think that's really important, that we identify that and we start speaking that into our groups. That we're teaching and training other people so that they can be a committed follower of Jesus. Okay. All right. So spiritual mentoring looks like this. It says, sorry, did I get out of I think I did. Here. Sorry, I messed up my slide presentation here. So spiritual mentoring, we first imitated the Lord, and then you learned from us how to imitate the Lord. And then that Ephesians 4:11-16, the spiritual equipping, it says, so Christ himself gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastors, and teachers to equip his people for works of service, so that the body of Christ may be built up until we all reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God and become mature, attaining to the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. Then we will no longer be infants, tossed back and forth by the waves and blown here and there by every wind of teaching and by the cunning and craftiness of people in their deceitful scheming. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of him who is the head, that is Christ. From him, the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. So what is that saying? Anybody?
He started to work in this, what it says, like the attaining the full measure of Christ comes through like functioning as the body of Christ together.
Right. Right. So, this is telling us, that there's a lot of different roles. Okay. Um, there's people that are supposed to be teachers and shepherds, and let's see here. Let me bring that up. So look at this. It says the apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers, and he is doing this to equip the people for works of service. So our job is to equip each other, is to help equip each other, and to live out our lives in a way that makes this verse come to life. Just listen to what it says. It says, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of him who is the head, that is Christ. And that's what our goal is as a life group leader. Our goal is to imitate Christ, to teach others, and to have them be able to teach other people that discipleship process as well. Okay, and then so how does discipleship happen? Be imitators of Christ, for sure. Yep. So there's a big list in number 4 on page 5. It says model, because he did it. Mentor, which means that he did it and they were with him. Okay. Then we've got monitor, which means that they did it and he was with them. We've got motivated, which is they did it and he was in the background encouraging them. And then multiply, they did it. Okay, so does that make sense? So modeling it, Jesus did it. If you read Mark 1 and 2, the whole chapters, it talks about how he went and he found his disciples and how he asked them to come and be a part of his group. Mentorship, he did it. And they did it with him. They went out and Jesus was teaching, and he had his disciples doing some things and teaching them. And if you read in the New Testament, there's a lot of times where it was just him and his disciples, and and he was explaining to them. But it seems like they had so many questions just all the time, especially if you read, Peter. Man, that guy he's kind of crazy. If you read the scriptures, he's kind of crazy, and so Jesus really has to point him and remind him of certain things and to correct and things like that. And that's what we should be doing when we're mentoring. We're doing it, and we're having people come alongside us to do it. And then monitor. So we're just basically, this is the releasing part. Okay, our job as life group leaders is to help develop other life group leaders and to help build them up and to release them to become their own leaders. Because here's what it comes down to. So the more groups that we have, the more impact we'll be able to have as well. I'm reminded of this story from the place that I came from. We decided to call all of our groups, all of our ministries, connection groups. So connection groups are life groups. And so we decided to call all of our ministries life groups so that more people could get involved in them. Because when you say, this ministry is having something going on, a lot of times people are intimidated by, hearing that it's being put on by a ministry, And so if we do this with life groups, it's a lot less intimidating for people to want to be a part of. And so let's see here. Did it, and he was with them. And so, our job is to motivate people to want to become life group leaders and to disciple them so that they can become disciplers as well. Our whole job, again, is coming back to that whole go and make disciples thing. Like Jesus said we need to do that. And so we need to try to do that by motivating people to and encouraging them to step into the design that God's created them to be or created them to do. So, and then multiply. They did it, which means we need to be sending people out. Okay, so when we get together, a lot of times what happens with the group is that a lot of people will get together and fall in love with just the group and hanging out, and then they're not going to want to split up, or they're not going to want to start another group or anything like that. And that is where a group dies. Like that is like a great way for ministry not to happen. When you stop caring about the outward part, the outward focus, I believe that you've missed it. So we want to make sure that we're multiplying our groups, that we're creating more opportunities for people to come in and check out what's going on. What's this Jesus thing, and the best way to show them is, living with them and doing life with them and showing them what Jesus has done in your life. Okay. So discipleship can happen in a life group. It's the perfect learning environment. They experience things together with other learners. People are held accountable to one another for continued growth. They're affirmed and loved. They're a part of a structure that allows for and reinforces growth and accountability. And the life group leader is a disciple maker. They're available and transparent. What takes place in a life group can encourage discipleship. So the life group meetings, they have a lot of different formats. Okay, these are some things that you're going to find in a life group meeting, and it's going to be, food is always good. I find that that's the best way to get people to a meeting is by providing food. So, food, you'll find some prayer, Bible study, picnics, discussion about various topics, questions and answers, games, worship, block parties, communion. The life group can be anything that you want it to be, okay? And especially if there's food there, people will show up, all right? And discipleship happens when people share their gifts. This is blank B on page 6. Discipleship happens when people share their gifts with one another. Okay. Yep. Okay. So we discover qualities we need by observing others' lives, take opportunities to serve and help others. We lead others by example and encourage the growth we see. And the goal is to see them also lead a connection group one day. Okay. That should always be the forefront of our minds. As life group leaders, we really, really need to be encouraging people to lead others, to step into the design that God has created for us. One of the other ways that we function, that we want to focus on as life group leaders, is outreach. So, our goal is that every person in a life group would invite an unchurched friend to the life group meeting before the next regroup. Okay, and we'll talk about the regroup in just a little bit. All right, did you guys get that blank outreach? C is outreach. Okay. Sorry, this thing is like, it's weird trying to get on the look side to side. Let's see here. Okay. So what we need to do is the reason we want to focus so much on outreach is because we want to build a side door into the church. Okay, any opportunity that we have to share the gospel is an opportunity, and we really want to take advantage of our life groups being the way that we can spread the love of Jesus. And so, let's build a side door into the church, because a lot of times, like I said earlier, people are intimidated to come into a church. People are intimidated to come and hang out with with Christians, and it's a lot easier to get somebody to come and hang out and drink some coffee with you. It's a lot easier to get somebody to, especially men, get them to, go shoot a gun, go shoot something, and or watch football, or have a flag football game, something that will make it easier for somebody to want to come in and hang out and see what's going on in this life group, So we want to build those side doors into church, because a lot of times, and we'll talk about it, actually, we'll just talk about it right here. So where's the harvest? Consider the following statistics, okay? If you look at the biggest statistic for who's getting involved, it's people who have been invited to church by a friend or a relative, and that's at 75 to 90%. So that's going to be where our biggest opportunity to invite people and to get people plugged in is going to be is through that side door with our life groups and getting them involved in church. And then it's a lot easier to say, hey, why don't you come to church with me? Because then they've already experienced the love, the oikos connection. So we must recognize the power of relationship evangelism in the oikos structure of our society. The biblical definition of evangelism is found in the Great Commission is not just go or pray. It says to go preach the gospel, make disciples, heal the sick, cast out devils, baptize, and more. True Christians are more than just converts. They're disciples and disciple makers. So learn to target families in the collective oikos of the person in your group. Pray for those targets regularly, So here's some simple ideas for some community outreach activities, okay? And these are all real simple, and I'm not going to read them all to you guys because I think you guys can probably read. But this is a really good one. Take your group and do a prayer walk in your neighborhood, around your local schools, and things like that, See here. Collect clothing items. This is a great opportunity, especially right now as we're getting into the holidays. This is a great way for your group to become active, and not just consumers, but they're actually contributors of to the gospel. And so, just get out there and do it, and scheduled church outreaches. So there's a lot of different church outreaches that we have. Okay, we had our fall festival. We've got a lot of other things. Those are great things to get involved with your group. And here's why. Number one, most of the time it's always completely planned for you. So you guys just really need to show up. And so it's really great to try to get involved with those things. It's a really low input for a lot of outcome. Okay, and so we're going to talk about this free market connection group system. All right. So when someone becomes a partner of Grace Community Church, why not let them serve? Here's some of the advantages of letting people serve. Okay. Especially if they're coming from our church, okay? There's easier leadership development. There's less requirements. So these are the two requirements for being a life group leader, okay? Be a partner of Grace Community Church by completing the Starting Point class. If you guys have not gone to the Starting Point class at all or recently, we're going to be having one in January. So just keep that on your radar if you haven't done that. We do ask that you guys go through that. And then have an idea. It's pretty simple. You know, we want to get as many people plugged in. Like I said, we're creating opportunities for people to hear the gospel. Every life group that we start is an opportunity. Every time that we get together and we invite our community, our neighbors, you know, those are all opportunities, and we need to be taking advantage of those. You know, especially right now during this pandemic. I mean, we don't know what it's going to be like, you know, in a month. I mean, they may tell us to close our doors, and then how are people getting connected? How are people being discipled? You know, the left group is a great way because